Hello? Yeah, just to add to the African conspirator, probably some people may not be Africans, but who want to look at assets from a different perspective. Because from all that I've heard, we're looking at assets more from economic assets that are available to us today. But for us in Africa, assets belong to the past. Assets belong to the people today, and assets belong to the future. And therefore, we have a different way of looking at it. So therefore, those who want to work in Africa, in terms of working in communities in Africa, we might have to look at these assets from a different perspective. So we want to invite them to be part of this conspiracy. Thank you.
So is that the same group? Okay, all right. So 342.
When I started this work, you know, I started a recovery process as an engineer, and started moving toward, you know, this kind of community work. And John and I were having a conversation yesterday about movements, you know, and there were a lot of big movements when that process started. There were the anti-war movement, there was a civil rights movement, and there was a women's rights movement, and they were and then followed closely by the environmental movement. They were all going on at once, and we talked yesterday about how short-term they were, that they, you know, John said that they went up like this and then they began to fall. You know, I mean, they died out because we did something about all of those kind of things. And then we went back and I became very local in the kind of work I ended up doing, but I've never lost that whole thing that what we do local needs to result in much larger policy change, you know. And I think as ABCD people, this last discussion sort of brought it out for me sort of in a big way, is that we don't reach out far enough with what we know. I mean, Terry Bergdahl said something the other day is, damn it, we do have an agenda. You know, and God, we work awful hard at hiding it, it seems like, you know. So it's, I want to have a group that takes a look at this, how we move this stuff to state, national, world policy change. You know, I mean, a lot of the work that we've done in Bridgeport, Connecticut has resulted in statewide policy change and some national change. So I'd like anybody who wants to join with me on that small problem to come join me in room 340. Okay, good.
All right, 340 for policy. Judy?
Well, I think I'll be joining you. I thought we'd go to the pool myself, but I think it's the same issue, is it a movement? And what I would like to see, that we embrace people that we don't embrace now. There are many services that are very directed with what they have to achieve, but they can take up the skills and use the strategies in ABCD. And I see it all under the framework of strength-based practice. So we've got to find out what is more digestible, what can be more widespread used, and yes, really understand what is the framework, what is ABCD in relation to strength-based practice, what is the overarching language that we can be using with all aspects of government. So do you think this is the place for me? Great, I'm going to join you.
I'm interested in taking up the issue that you brought up about trying to get together, you know, a list or some kind of evidence of all the different applications of ABCD in the majority world, as a way of trying to present it back to either CEDA or AusAid or whoever other agencies that have been pretty blind to this kind of work. And I don't know how to do that, but if anyone wants to think about how we might start to provide some kind of database on that. Maybe it already exists, I don't know.
So this is maybe the discussion is about an ongoing research agenda, and that can be really advance the work. That can be,
I guess, or some kind of way of actually compiling some sort of database of where it's actually been happening and what's been written about it already.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That sounds like room 271 to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's that? 271? Oh, 271. No, it's not an election.
For research, okay. Be noting down the rooms when you hear something that interests you, right?
271.
271, and maybe this is a group that would join 271, because I think out of yesterday's discussion on monitoring and evaluation, we were talking about how we actually measure that, and I agree Naresh's challenge to gather those success stories in ways that make a difference is really important. But we were talking about you know, the ways to do that in kind of creatively, the tools that we can share and the methodology. And I think maybe you've said it in a much more sexy way, and I think that maybe that people who are interested in that would be.
All right.
That sounds like room 265.
No, that's 271, same one. Peter?
Someone once said that inside every adult is a young person wondering what the hell happened. And I don't see too many of us under 30 here in this particular room. I think we're a bit of an ageing movement if you look at the colour of our hair, and I'm particularly interested in how do we engage young people to lead and teach in this whole area, particularly the type of communication and conversation methodologies that they want to engage in as opposed to the ones that many of us might feel more comfortable with. So I'd be interested in anyone who's really interested in the area of how do we engage young people, young men and women, to kind of like lead and teach in this area, and how can we learn from them, particularly about conversation, because I think it's all about conversation. How do we kind of like start developing interesting ways to engage that group in all of this kind of like process? So where to meet? Is the pub open at this one?
Room 150 for people interested in young people. Okay, we'll get you.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We haven't talked about it. Is this on? We haven't talked about it a lot, but I'll suggest it in the spirit of open space, and if nobody shows up, go to a different meeting. But the theme of agroecology and local food systems, which I think is a very applied, very asset-based driven solution that is very relevant about 1 billion small-scale farmers in the world of the type that were described in Vietnam. So if anybody's interested in that issue, I'd be interested in talking about that.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
I have, Andy's after you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Actually, mine is not a group, but I'm a bit concerned. When we keep talking about government, who is government? Who put the government there? Are government members not members of our communities? Well, it's something that keeps worrying me because we try not to use it because they are members of our communities. We do have regulations, policies, but then when we start using the government too much at a certain level, we are in a way creating dependency. In a way. But it's something that I would like us to think about. Who is government? Are they not members of our community? Are they not part of the assets? I don't know.
Yeah.
We explored all of those. It's all in our report from the government we get today. That's why I was suggesting that James should have, because people are so interested in that.
Okay, so James has a job to do. Provide us with all your insights from that group meeting.